We're going to talk to you about not kosher meat, but halal meat. I bet you didn't know who owns halal meat and who gets a cut from it. You'll find out all about it from Dale Hurd. But first of all, in the news, Republicans are now taking control of the House of Representatives today, and they say they have a clear message from the voters. Stop the spending.
You're right, Pat, but that could actually mean some serious battles with President Obama and the Democrats in the Senate. Paul Strand has that story from Washington.
Politicians always make promises to cut spending, but this new Republican majority, backed by Tea Party power, may have the fervor and numbers to really do it.
This is the largest freshman class of Republicans in our nation's history.
We are here to represent and reflect the values of the country. And the country has said very directly, stop the spending.
Americans seem so worried now about killer levels of debt, even outgoing House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is talking the talk, saying Democrats will only back a bill if
it reduces the deficit instead of heaping mountains of debt onto our children and our grandchildren.
One of the very first things House Republicans will do is cut their own working budgets by 5%. They pledge to vote every week on different spending cuts. And next week they vote on totally repealing Obamacare. Democrats claim the massive health care overhaul will actually save money, but Republicans disagree.
We believe that it'll bankrupt our nation. We believe that it needs to be repealed and replaced with common sense reforms to bring down the cost of health insurance.
Democrats, including President Obama, will fight that all the way and accuse the GOP of reckless behavior, especially when many Republicans refuse in March to increase the debt ceiling, which guarantees the government will cover the nation's debt.
I could not be more serious when I say I'm not going to vote to increase the national debt limit.
White House economists call that madness.
That would be the first default in history caused purely by insanity.
But their own boss as a senator voted against increasing the debt ceiling in 2006, saying, the fact that we are here today to debate raising America's debt limit is a sign of leadership failure. It is a sign that the U.S. government can't pay its own bills. It is a sign that we now depend on ongoing financial assistance from foreign countries to finance our government's reckless fiscal policies. In the end, enough Republicans will probably go along with increasing the debt ceiling, but only after they get guarantees future spending will be seriously cut and curbed. Paul Strand, CBN News, Washington.
Well, that debt ceiling is like a fat guy taking a belt and pulling it in tight while he's stuffing food in his mouth. I mean, it really makes no sense. And you have to do it. But, KRISTI, you'd be interested to know that the federal debt increased $1 trillion since June. $1 trillion since June.
That may be interesting, but it's making my stomach churn right
Well,
now, I tell you.
I mean, they've gone crazy.
Yeah.
They're talking about all this fiscal probity, and Nancy Pelosi saying, well, we're not going to do anything that will increase the debt. Baloney! Oh, there's such hypocrisy up there. But I think the Tea Party guys may have the answer, at least. Well, I don't know, but what I think is, when you look at Social Security, you look at Medicare, when you look at the baby boomers, which is the big thing, the baby boomers are coming online this year to start asking for Medicare. Every single day, there are going to be thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people hitting 65 and asking for federal assistance and health care, et cetera. It's going to bankrupt that, and I think this great nation, unless something dramatic is done, is in for serious financial problems. Well, Lee Webb has the rest of our top stories from the CBN Newsroom. Lee?
Pat, the cross at the center of a 22-year legal battle has been ruled unconstitutional. The Mount Soledad Memorial Cross in San Diego was erected more than 50 years ago to honor veterans of the Korean War. But as Charlene Israel reports, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has ruled against the cross.
In its ruling, the court says the cross conveys a message of government endorsement of religion that violates the Constitution. The 43-foot cross sits atop San Diego's Mount Soledad. The ACLU has fought to have the cross removed, saying it should not be on public land. In 2008, a judge disagreed and ruled the cross is more of a secular memorial to war veterans than a statement promoting religion. On Tuesday, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals rejected that ruling.
You know, I'm disappointed, but I'm not really surprised.
Attorney James McElroy has fought against the cross for 15 years.
It's a great day for the Constitution. It's a great day for religious tolerance.
The ruling says this does not mean the memorial could not be modified to pass constitutional muster. nor does it mean that no cross can be part of the Veterans Memorial.
The court was saying it's not up to us at this point in time to say take the cross down tomorrow.
Supporters of the cross are outraged at the ruling.
Well, it's a terrible shame. This is a great tribute to our veterans.
It's been here for how many years, and it's part of the community. It should stay.
The court says modifications can be made to make it constitutional, but doesn't specify what the changes would be.
I read it as being very political and agenda-driven, as opposed to a real legal scholarly decision.
I think that's a little demeaning to the court. I think judges try very hard to follow the Constitution.
The ruling will almost certainly be appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court. Charlene Israel, CBN News.
And Pat, how do you think the High Court might rule in this case?
I think they will uphold the the cross, and I think the American Center for Law and Justice, representing a number of congressmen, is filing an amicus brief on this and is going into the Supreme Court. But Lee, are those guys on the Ninth Circuit who've been overruled more than any other appellate court in the nation, are they going to say that Arlington Cemetery, we've got to knock all those crosses down for those thousands of servicemen who've died and their grave is memorialized by a cross? Are we going to take them down in the fields of Normandy? Are we going to go all across the country and knock down crosses? That's what these people want to do. If the ACLU had its way, it would be just like it was in the communist country when dictator Hoxha ruled, because they were atheists, that they should knock all the crosses down in the graveyards. Knock them down.
I was just listening. That's a great point. I was thinking about all of the soldiers who fought for this country and how we honor them with the cross and what that symbolizes, and how someone has the audacity to say, take it down. Just get a grip.
Well, it's a symbol. Of course, it goes back to Jesus Christ, but it also has been a symbol of memorial to those who've died. You drive down the mountains of Colombia, for example, and there are little crosses along the road. What are they? They're people who ran over the edge and died. That's the way we memorialize the dead people and show our respect for them. And this Ninth Circuit shows no respect for anybody. You say it's trying to follow the Constitution. I don't believe it. Lee?
Pat, that same court out in California, the Ninth Circuit, has asked the California State Supreme Court to weigh in now on the Proposition 8 case. Prop 8, of course, was the measure Californians passed to define marriage as only between a man and a woman. The measure has been challenged in court, but state officials have refused to defend it after a judge struck it down. So a group of Prop 8 supporters filed their own appeal. And now the Ninth Circuit wants the state Supreme Court to decide if that group has the legal standing to do so. A powerful Pakistani governor was buried today. Salman Taseer was shot by one of his own guards. Officials say the guard was angry about Taseer's opposition to the country's blasphemy law. The governor was a strong defender of the Christian woman who has been sentenced to die under that law. Taseer had met with Asia Bibi, the Christian mother of four convicted of insulting Islam's prophet Muhammad. Taseer called for Bibi to be pardoned and the blasphemy laws amended, a move that aroused the wrath of Muslim extremists. On December 31st, he sent this Twitter message saying, "I was under huge pressure to cow down before rightist groups on blasphemy. Refused, even if I'm the last man standing." An aide to Pakistani President Zardari called Taseer a courageous voice on the rights of women and religious minorities in Pakistan. Pat.
One more example of the extremism that exists in Islam. What did this woman do? She, quote, insulted the prophet. She said, I didn't insult the prophet. It's a put-up job, and I'm being the victim of slander. But nevertheless, the court was going to have her executed. Why? For saying an unkind thing about Muhammad. And this guard is one of the security men of this very prominent minister of Punjab, guns him down. He didn't shoot him once, he shot him multiple times. Bloodthirsty. What kind of a religion is it that says you've got to kill people who disrespect what you believe? That's Islam. It is a religion, I call it a political system as well, but it is a religion that involves killing. It involves violence. Just every time you hear about it, it's more violence. And this is a shocking thing. And Pakistan is Sure, they were a titularly Muslim country, but nevertheless, there's some very, very reasonable people in Pakistan, well educated, and they must be horrified at this. Lee?
Pat, the rising price of oil could hurt economic recovery worldwide. The chief economist for the International Energy Agency tells the Financial Times that sooner or later, oil will simply cost too much. It's risen as high as $95 a barrel in the UK. The IEA economist says the major oil countries should produce more oil and help bring down the price. Gas prices are already over $3 a gallon here in the U.S., and many analysts expect that to go $4 or even $5 in the next 5 years, or next few years rather, and that could lead many Americans to cut back on their spending, and that in turn would hurt the economy. Many overweight Americans are in denial about their weight and their poor diet. Researchers for Consumer Reports studied 1,200 people. Just 1 in 10 said their diet is unhealthy, and only 11% considered themselves to be overweight or obese. The way food is marketed could be partly to blame. Dietitians say it's important to look at the ingredients, especially the amount of sugar in food. And they say it's important to eat fruits, of course, and vegetables, and get plenty of moderate exercise. Pat?
Thank you, Lee. We are in denial as a nation. We're in denial. And if somebody says to somebody, you're fat, I'm not fat. I'm not.
Big bones.
Yeah, big bones. 60% of the people in America are overweight. I don't know, when you use the term obese, you use the term morbidly obese. But, you know, you read a label that says this is non-fat yogurt. What do you think?
You think that it's not going to be a lot. You can probably eat double, but in reality, it's probably either twice the sugar.
That's right.
Twice the carbs, and twice the everything bad to put twice the hips on you.
But they say low-fat, frozen yogurt.
Yeah.
Oh, I was hooked on that because I thought it was so good.
Yeah.
And then I began to realize how much sugar is in it.
Exactly.
And it goes all the way through the food chain, all those cereals and things. And plus this fructose,
fructose high corn syrup.
Yeah, that has really destroyed the health of America. And one nutritionist some years ago said, I'm just horrified at what we're doing to our people when we open the gates for this high fructose corn syrup. It's really been a horrible thing. But in any event.
Well, you know what, Pat? You know, I know you love peanut butter, and I love peanut butter, too. I was just reading an article, and they were saying that when you look at peanut butter and it says half the fat or reduced, don't eat that peanut butter, because what they did was they took out the fat, replaced it with the sugar, and then with monosodium glutamate all these, not monosodium glutamate, other sugars and other bad fats,
sodiums,
and to replace it. But they said if you just have the good old-fashioned peanut butter, that's actually better for you.
You can get health food peanut butter that doesn't have sugar, doesn't have high salt, and it's got a lot of peanut oil in it, but that's not going to hurt you. But we've got Barry Sears here, who's got the zone diet.
Yeah, this is going to be really interesting.
By the way, may I congratulate you as you start the new year? You must be doing something to lose weight, are you?
Yeah, well, you know what? I got to be honest with you. People always think that because you're on Skinny Wednesday, they should be skinny all the time. Listen, I am a woman, and I kind of fluctuate up and down. And what I decided to do, to get my balance back. You know, balance with food, balance with exercise, because a lot of times I would get so stressed just in life or just too busy, I wouldn't exercise as much as I should.
My compliments to the chef.
Well, praise the Lord.
Saudi Arabia has arrested a vulture for spying for Israel. Sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction. But a Saudi newspaper reports the vulture was tagged with the words Tel Aviv University. It was wearing a leg bracelet, as it turns out, and a transmitter, and was found in a rural area of Saudi Arabia. Locals thought the bird could have been part of a, quote, Zionist plot. But an Israeli bird expert from Tel Aviv University tells CBN News that the vulture was simply part of a study. They were tracking the movement of the birds because they're an endangered species in Israel. Europe and areas across the Middle East were treated to a rare sight Tuesday. A solar eclipse cast an eerie glow in the early hours as the moon passed in front of the sun. It obscured the sun by almost 80% in some areas, and it thrilled morning commuters from Switzerland to Israel. An amazing sight. You can always get the latest from CBN News by going to our website at cbnnews.com.